Alright, Diablo players, let's get into it. Vessel of Hatred, is it worth buying? Here's my thoughts and review, but I wanted to start off the video with this. I completed the entirety of the game. I did the entire seasonal battle pass. I did the entire seasonal journey for Season 6 journey. I maxed out the entire brand new mercenary system, and on top of that, what essentially is new here with the Vessel of Hatred expansion? Well, for starters, there's the mercenary system, which we'll talk about. There's the new rune words, which are basically things that you can put in your armors or in your weapon, and you can basically get skills from other classes or gain some sort of resources. There's a brand new region. Now, just to get something out of the way really quick, if you want to engage in the new content, you must purchase the expansion. If you do not, you will not be able to play the newer stuff. However, you can still engage in the Season 6 new mechanic, which we'll show gameplay of as well. But I just want to start off the video by going over that, because it's just like a very frequently asked question. Do I need to actually get the expansion to be able to play in the new area? If you want to play the new class, which you guys are seeing gameplay of, you must purchase the expansion, and it is not just like a free download in terms of the expansion. So now that we have that out of the way, I want to go over some things rapid fire that you may actually be wondering about. So first off, as far as the file size goes, it's at least in the review copy, keep in mind things may be subject to change. Most of these issues that I talk about, hopefully, fingers crossed, will be fixed day one once the thing comes out. And I will not be spoiling anything for the campaign in terms of the storyline. I won't be sharing any cutscenes, but this is basically my review of what I experienced during the time. First off, yeah, about 128 gigabytes is the size. As far as the campaign goes, if we're just talking about that campaign, we're not talking about like the quest to get the mercenaries or the basic introduction to some of the newer like mechanics for a newer player to like show off the pit, to show off like the infernal hordes. They show off all of these things. They're kind of like baked in, so it's kind of made for newer players to kind of experience that. But if we're talking about just the core campaign, it's about a 10-ish hour campaign in terms of playtime. But that can be extended through all of the side quests and like getting all of the mercenaries, because there's kind of like a storyline with the mercenaries, and some of the storylines are genuinely really good with it. But there is one new class, and every single class will get a new skill. Now, that new skill that you get with every single class, you do not need to buy the expansion to actually get the new skill. But there is a whole new region, and it's actually quite big. As far as it goes, there are other gameplay mechanics that got introduced. Not only do we have like the newer raid system, which I'll show you guys gameplay of as well. There's obviously the new class, and the new class has its own specialization quests, and there's going to be lots of different builds that will emerge from just the new skills for all the classes, not just, of course, the Spiritborn class, but I'm going to obviously have Spiritborn gameplay here because it's the new class. They also did change the level cap. There's a change with the glyph system. Basically, every single glyph can go to level 100 now. There's a lot of newer changes, even if you aren't getting the expansion. So there's still newer content to consume. And of course, the seasonal mechanic will be available for everyone. But as far as it goes, one of the most important things when I look at a game is like, was I having fun? So to kind of sum it up real quick at the start of this video, because I hate when YouTubers take too long, is it actually fun? I had fun during the campaign. As far as it goes, there's no new like game-breaking action RPG thing that is introduced into the campaign or in the story that's going to blow you away. We did get raids, which is kind of a cooler thing that's newer to Diablo, but these have existed. I'm talking about like brand new things that are going to blow your mind with this. It stayed relatively safe. There's not something that's going to, again, just absolutely shock you that's brand new to the action RPG genre, which I actually kind of wanted. I'm talking about things in the creativity department. If you've ever played Diablo 3, like the Kanai's Cube, that was one of the coolest things that was introduced because it can allow you to make crazier builds. That's the kind of stuff I would like to have seen with this game. So if you enjoyed Diablo 4, like you're like, man, I've been really enjoying it, I've been playing all the season, should I buy the new expansion, Vessel of Hatred? Absolutely. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to have a campaign to consume. And even if I was to just buy it as a super casual player that just like played Diablo 4, I bought the campaign, I had fun, and then I didn't really care to play the seasons. I want the campaign. Because some people buy games just for the campaign. And I think that is a really solid campaign. If you're just interested in a relatively safe story, and what I mean by safe story is that like it doesn't again do anything super crazy that you may not enjoy. When I look at action RPGs, I want to see something that's going to blow my mind. That's what I want to see as someone that loves this action RPG as a game genre. That's the kind of stuff that I want to see. But it's relatively safe, but they still did a relatively good job. The new class, if I was to give it like a rank out of like 10, how much fun I had, I would say it's a 9 out of 10, especially when you look at some of the really cool uniques. You'll see the gameplay that I'm going to have actually like almost no HP. It's basically like a shield build. It's, if you've ever played like, you know, any sort of like a shield build in like Path of Exile, or if you play like a low life build, it's kind of like that. So basically, you can make the build kind of cater towards what you want to go for. Some of the new uniques are actually really cool. So if I was to rank the new class, I'd give it like a 9 out of 10. It is really good. It's heavy emphasized on pushing all of your like skill buttons, and you really have to squeeze in every single skill. So I really like the class. The new class is really fun to play. But as far as giving some more subjective kind of scores here, because I gave the class like a 9 out of 10, like it's really cool. But I wanted to give this score at the very start, and I'm giving this a 0 out of 10, which is, what does this bring new to the action RPG genre? That's one of the most important things. The game is fun, don't get me wrong, but as far as it goes, I want to see something brand new to Diablo. Sure, we get the rune words that we didn't have, and the rune words aren't even like Diablo 2 rune words. Like if you're like, oh man, I want to play with the Enigma, well, you got to do this like little thing, and then you can build something up, and then you can get one teleport every 5 seconds or something like that. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to build some of the stuff that I had in Diablo 2. That's what I wanted, honestly. I think that it would have been a lot cooler, but it does allow a system for you to actually utilize some sort of skills from maybe another class, or just gain some extra resources for your class or extra cooldowns. It does add a lot more to the game, but again, it's not something that's like game-breakingly new. It's just like numerical stat changes over here. As far as another numerical score, like giving it out of a 10, Blizzard always does really well with cinematics. I got to give them a 10 out of 10. They did a really, really good job with the cinematics. Same thing with the voice acting, sound effects. Those are all really great. However, as far as music goes, I would give it like an average. So I'd give it like a 5 out of 10 for music. Like Diablo 2 had some legendary music that I still listen to this day. We always use it in like the background for a lot of my videos. It's really good. But did I feel like this game was legendary in the music department? No. It just didn't hit the same as like Diablo 2. I don't know why. Diablo 2 will still always be top tier for music. Would really love to see if they just bring Matt Ullman. I think he did some stuff with Torchlight, so maybe he's still working in the industry. I really felt like the music wasn't as iconic. It wasn't bad by any means. It's just like, okay, it fit the game, whatever. As far as the graphics go, I was really impressed with the graphics. It's probably still one of the best looking games. And so for visuals, like, I guess it kind of ties into cinematics. I'll give it a 10 out of 10. Like, they did a really good job with that. Now, as far as the combat, how does the game feel? Especially with the newer class, I like it a lot. I think that the Diablo 4 still has some of the best combat, because I've been playing some other games like Seraph. I've been looking at other action RPGs kind of while I was waiting for this to actually come out. And, well, Diablo 4 still is probably one of the best action RPGs in the market for the way that the combat feels. Like the action combat, when your, abilities hit, does the enemy kind of react to it? Do you feel it? I think they did a really great job. I got to give him like a 9 out of 10 in terms of like how the game actually feels. As far as like visual clutter, I'm going to give this a 5 out of 10. It's still a problem with action RPGs and genre. They didn't really change it up. Another thing I wanted to give a score to like the monsters. The monsters don't look bad, but I got to give them I feel bad saying this, but like it's like a 0 out of 10 for like new monsters. And the reason why I'm saying for new monsters, now bosses are going to be different, but I can't really show you guys the bosses. I would love to, but we can't actually spoil it because it's like the early review copy here. We can't show off spoilers. We'd love to show you some of the boss fights that are like tied to the campaign, and some of those are a little bit more interesting, but I'm talking about like just the generic new monsters and the monster families that they added. I genuinely did not notice that I saw this monster and I got to do something else. So it's almost pointless for them to add new monsters in the game, because I literally just like kill them instantly and I don't notice them doing anything new. Now bosses are going to be in their own category. I really feel like I need to show you guys the bosses, but as far as boss design goes, I'm talking about like the Citadel and stuff and like the mechanics. I would give them an 8 out of 10, but I'm talking about like the generic monsters, 0 out of 10. I didn't even notice that there were like new monsters to engage with. So again, the bosses are solid though. Okay, anyways, next up, as far as the stat squish goes, 0 out of 10. They were supposed to reduce these numbers in the game to not go to billions and millions of damage, but it didn't work. So their goal with that, and I think that is not a bad idea, because it makes it so it's super hard to kind of like read visibility for like these numbers, right? Didn't really work. As far as the campaign story, I would say the writing was pretty solid. Like the writing, I would say, is like a 9 out of 10. But as far as like my journey, I was interested in the story, so I would give it like a 7 out of 10. The reason why I'm giving it a 7 is I wanted to be blown away with gameplay mechanics. Now there is some twists in the story, which I'm not going to spoil, but it is cool. Now I also want to go over the underground city over here. Let me show you guys some gameplay of this. This is a brand new system, and I want to give this system a 9 out of 10. It is awesome. So what you do in this area is you kind of build up this bar, and you before you go in, let me see if I have it over here where we like go in again. Pretty much you go in, you fill up the bar over. You'll see the bar filling up on the right, and then pretty much you get to fight a boss at the very end, and this boss I can show you. And I think these bosses are cool, but my build was like so OP, I'm just going to delete it at one shot. That's kind of just how Diablo works. Once you get your build up and running, yeah, you're going to see the boss over here. There are boss mechanics. It's just our build too good, and we'll be dropping the build guide for it too. But basically, in the very beginning of these underground cities, you can click on this little like thing, and you can put in different things in the Spirit Brazier, and basically you can get different rewards, or you could just go in without putting any of the things. But if you want to try to get like legendaries that have a very specific thing, maybe you want defensive aspects, it's cool. This area over here, Underground City, 9 out of 10. I love it. It's really cool. I would like to see even more options, but it's a really awesome awesome thing indeed. Now the next thing I want to give a like kind of a review score is the seasonal mechanic, which I gotta show you guys because honestly, not gonna lie, it's disappointing. So this is the seasonal mechanic. You're gonna see we're gonna go to the area, and basically there is it's a realm walker. So if you've seen these, they've existed before in the Diablo universe, but basically you go over there, and it happens on the map every once in a while. You go there and you follow him. He's super slow, and it's very frustrating because like I just want to get my loot, you know, and then like it just takes so dang long, and I'm hoping they will change this, but you just got to follow him for several minutes, and he kind of spawns monsters and you kill him. There's no really special like reward here up until the very end. You get these things called opals, which will give you like more drops, but there's no like real big seasonal power here. The mercenaries will give you a small amount of power, but don't expect your mercenaries to walk up and like one-shot things. It's not like Median XL. I wish it was though. But we'll talk about mercenaries in a moment here. But basically, this I want to give this season mechanic like a 2 out of 10. I really didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. It was like painfully slow. Again, we're gonna have to follow him, kill some stuff for like a long time, and then eventually you can actually eliminate him. As you progress, he'll kind of like lose HP as he's kind of spawns in these monsters, and then eventually you kill him, and then you go through the portal. Now once you go through the portal, it's a nightmare dungeon, which honestly kind of disappointed by, because I feel like just the dungeon design here, you do get some other like dungeons here. I feel like I'm kind of over this. There's too much to like go in this area, you go from here and get to the end, then you get your loot. I wish action RPGs did more than like the standard like PoE like map system. I want to see some game breaking things. That's what I wanted to see in this expansion here. But basically, you're gonna see we're gonna go and kill some stuff, and then we will eventually get to the end, and there's like a new goblin here that we'll kill. But pretty much you go in there and you kill stuff, and at the very end there is a treasure chest that will have some sort of rewards. And then you can get these things called opals, and opals just give you some more XP at the end of the day. That's basically what it comes down to. Again, for the Season 6 mechanic, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10. Now, onto something that I actually want to give a good review score to. So, the raids. This is part of the new system. Love it for the very first time. So, I like the discovery of going into something for the very first time, and you really need to engage with your teammates. If you're going in for the first time, you're going in blind, not gonna lie, you're probably gonna fail it, and that's okay. That's part of learning in any video game, is to try to learn how the mechanics work. There is kind of a thing that builds up, and if you don't do it fast enough, your whole party's just dead. I know that may be frustrating for some people, but if there's no like risk to what you're doing, then the payout doesn't feel as good. That's just kind of, you know, my thought process in terms of like any video game design. And when you lose to a certain thing like a bunch of times again and again, and you're learning how it works, yeah, I think that it's more satisfying when you actually complete it. Now, as far as it goes, I want to give the raids like an 8 out of 10 for the very first time. But there's one big problem with the raids. There's no real huge incentives to do them past doing them one time once you get to the cosmetic for it that you can get here. You can get these temper scrolls, but you can just get the temper scrolls in other ways by just playing the game. I'm not sure how rare they're going to be, just as a heads up. But at the same time, it was really hard to progress in the early review copy because iron ore was so rare that like in our entire party, there's probably no one even that has like all their stuff like maxed out masterwork. The reason why, like I'm Paragon, Paragon 260 max level. I remember that it goes to 300 Paragons. You only really need like 200 to pretty much get your build up like pretty much min-maxed. But the thing with the newer system that they had, in our review copy, everyone would that's doing review copies will probably complain about this. Iron ore was like incredibly rare. Like you could not temper on a lot of things. You could not change the aspect on a lot of things. It was like super broken. I don't even know why it was released in this state. I'm so glad that they gave us review copies, because if this slipped by, like if they did not give like the content creators and the other people the review copies, this game, this like would have absolutely like flopped. It is so incredibly painful for the grind of the iron ore that you had to literally walk around the map to click on these little ore veins. It was terrible. Now, if this gets fixed, this game is looking so much better. I'm assuming that they are going to be fixing this, because it was noted in so many people's like, thoughts that we need to like, give Blizzard for the review copy. We got to give them that feedback. And this is one of the biggest pain points, is specifically that the iron ore was just, they just basically destroyed it. It like did not exist in the game. Basically, it was like getting like mythics. Like it was just the amount that they gave you is so incredibly rare. It's one of the biggest like points of the game in terms of progression. Same thing with like the Paragon glyphs. I don't really like the newer progression. Honestly, if I was to give the progression like a score, it'd be like -5. Like season 4 and 5 were really good. Like season 4, I would give that season like a 9 out of 10. But season 6 in the progression, oh, it's like negative. Like I really hated it. There were so many points where like, dude, I just don't want to farm iron ore. It was so incredibly bad. But if this gets fixed, I can like just delete my negativity in terms of like, what I want to give this in terms of progression review. I really still hate the idea that like to get power in this game, you just go farm and get your glyphs up to level 100 5 times. It just feels like it's kind of just like, just go grind, you'll eventually get it. That's not what I like in an action RPG. I like kind of making my character and building on something and using my creativity to make a cool build, not just go do several hundred pit runs so I can level up my stuff. But that's just how I feel about the system in terms of progression over there. But as far as the raids go, I did like it for the very first time, but there's no incentives to keep on going here again and again, because the mythics don't drop here. Like, maybe you can get a mythic here, but like you're still going to go back and do Duriel 5,000 times. So I wish that this area had like the best sort of like drops here, and they would only drop here, so it would incentivize people to do the new content. That's at least how I personally feel about that. Alright, so now that we went over the raids, I want to talk a little bit more about the mercenary system, kind of give you guys my thoughts on it. So I like the idea of the mercenary. However, when you're playing in a group, you just lose your mercenary. You can still kind of tag him in there for an assist, but I really like this idea of having like a companion by your side. It's really cool, but usually this game is played in a group for more efficiency. Then you lose out on that companion, and it's not even that strong anyways. But I would really have liked for them to basically just copy Median XL. If you guys don't know what that is, that's a Diablo 2 mod that basically has your mercenary, and you could pretty much equip your mercenary like fully. Like, it is insane how cool the mercenary system is in there, because the mercenary can literally solo the content for you, but you built the mercenary, so it's like you invested your time. Whereas Diablo 4's system is like, well, you can pick like 2 skills, and there's like a little bit of passive, and then like 30% chance to maybe do vulnerable for a couple seconds. Like, you can't really utilize it. This is weaker than the Seneschal Pet, which a lot of people felt like that was underwhelming. I like the mercenaries. They're cool. They're voice acted. In fact, the mercenary like system in terms of like getting the mercenaries, like 8 out of 10. I loved Varyana's story. Like, to acquire each mercenary, you kind of like get their story, and I think it's really cool. Varyana's is one of my favorites, but basically to acquire them, it was really well done. I like it. That's great. Again, good score on that. It's just the mercenaries, in terms of gameplay, they don't feel impactful enough. And I think that if you want to introduce a new system, it has to feel powerful. And the fact that you don't even get that much power for them, and then you don't even get to utilize them when you're playing in a group, which is primarily the way that the game is played, because remember, this is an online-only game, and to engage in the new raid system, well, you have to do it at a party. By the way, you cannot solo the raids. I tried. It like literally doesn't let you. I also tried to use mobility to get past the gate to try to cheese it, and they don't let you. So you have to be in a party, but like, again, I think it would have been cool to have the mercenary be someone that if you wanted to solo the raids with, you can kind of like tell them where to go and they would go. I think that would have been a really cool idea as well. But next up, as far as the rune words go, so okay, real quick, going back to the mercenaries for like a second. Mercenary system, I'm going to give it like a 2 out of 10. I think that there's a lot of potential with it, but I think that the mercenaries need way more powerful. Even if you want to cut power from us, I think that building the mercenary is a really cool idea. But acquiring them, that's like an 8 out of 10. It was really cool. As far as the rune words go, these are not Diablo 2 rune words. I want straight up, just give me Enigma, let me teleport like crazy. That's what I want to see. Not like, all right, lucky hit, chance on Tuesday to go ahead and summon this or get like a power for like, a couple seconds here. That's not what I would consider like very ideal or fun for the rune words, but I still think that there's a lot of potential. So you know, this is their early introduction to the game, and I think that they don't want to go too crazy with it, because what happens a lot of times in Diablo is we do like billions and trillions of damage, and they're like, oh gosh, this is going to be a nightmare to balance. And I get that. But at the end of the day, I don't even think that that's necessarily even a bad thing. Let players go crazy for a season. Like, let them just have some crazy powerful thing. Let them teleport across the map, summon a bunch of, like, ultimates from several different classes. Like, let people go crazy. Like, at the end of the day, there's really no support for PvP. By the way, if you're wondering, like, is there some cool PvP arena? Because I know that was data mined. I don't know if that's going to come out later. Fingers crossed that that does come out. I would really like to see some sort of competitive, like, PvP or some sort of, like, even just ladder leaderboards. Would have been nice, because Gauntlet, let's be honest, the Gauntlet isn't really, like, a real, like, ladder, right? Would have been really cool to go ahead and see that as well. But overall, to kind of wrap up my thoughts, because we're like 20 minutes in, I could probably talk about this game for several hours, as I'm a huge Diablo fan. But as far as the rune words go, I'm gonna give them like an average score of 5 out of 10. There are some cool ideas with it, but so many of them were so painfully bad. Like, what I tried to do is I tried to make a minion necromancer, which was terrible, by the way. They are buffing it, but like the minion necromancer is so terrible. I'm like, what if we just like also added the minions of the wolves? Well, if you do that, it still sucks. Was really hoping that we can like do some crazy ideas, and I think that eventually we will get to the point where we're going to see some crazy sort of builds with rune wards. They're going to add more, but for the most part, they're kind of just like little small little stat sticks, and they do a little bit of here and there once in a while. It's not like so incredibly build defining. Again, it's not going to be Enigma or like where in Diablo was it Beast, where you can like transform into like the werebear as another class. That's the kind of cool things that I would like to have seen with the rune words, but at the end of the day, I still think that there is definitely a lot more room for improvement. So to kind of wrap up my thoughts, is it worth getting? If you were a fan of Diablo, like, you know, the campaign, just the campaign itself, I think this is an absolute, like, cool thing. If you want a game that's relatively safe, as in it's not going to throw out some sort of super complex thing that I personally would have wanted, you're going to have fun with the campaign. It'll be a good, like, 10 plus hours, 20 plus hours if you want to do all the side quests, probably. It'll be definitely worth it to pick up. But if you're like, oh, I love Diablo, then obviously, yes, get the game. It's totally good. So if you like the campaign for Diablo 4, like the vanilla, yeah, you can get it. It'll be totally fine. If you really love Diablo, is there a lot more content to consume? Definitely. There's the new Rage. You're going to definitely enjoy that. There's the Undercity, which you guys are seeing gameplay of right now, which lets you kind of target farm. I like this system, by the way. It's like an 8 or 9 out of 10. I love this thing. Really cool way to kind of try to choose what you want. But if you're like, you know, I like Call of Duty, I like NBA 2K, I mean, you probably aren't going to be a fan of Diablo. This expansion is not going to change your mind. So it's made for people that already enjoy Diablo, but if you are new to the game, they always have certain sales with bundles, and I would say just pick up the vanilla copy of the game, and if you really enjoy it, then you could go ahead and get the expansion, because I'm pretty sure the vanilla version of the game might be on sale for, I don't know, 10, 20 bucks, if you can find it, like, on sale, because obviously everyone wants the expansion. And then if you enjoyed that, if you want to save your money, if you're watching this video, you're like, you know, my friend's telling me about Diablo, should I get the new expansion? It is a game that is not going to be necessarily for everyone, you know, that's like any video game, but the thing is that there is going to be a lot of reading and understanding how certain things work, and it's not going to be a game where you can just pick up and play, like Gauntlet Legends, cool game, but like that game you could just like walk in and play. I like to be able to customize my character, and if you like those sort of games, well then Diablo is definitely for you, but it doesn't break the action RPG genre. It doesn't do anything brand new. I wanted to see those kinds of things in the game, so overall, my overall verdict on the game is yes, definitely if you're a Diablo fan, or if you just like games with campaigns, there is definitely a campaign to consume, and it's, again, super, super safe. It doesn't do anything crazy. I want to see the crazy things, but I still had fun at the end of the day, and I could still recommend the game. But I gave a bunch of different, like, separate numerical scores for the game, you know, in the video. But I'm curious to know if you guys have played it, what do you guys think, and what would you guys have liked to see a lot more of. And I want to go more into detail, but we can't really talk too much about the campaign in terms of the story. However, I would like to see more of these new tormented bosses in the game. I think that that was an area that was kind of missed out on, that the expansion definitely could have actually added, so we could have some more endgame content to kind of consume. But hopefully, fingers crossed, that will happen maybe in the next season or in maybe the next expansion. But anyways, that's going to wrap up my thoughts. So overall, again, I could recommend the game. Again, it's solid, but doesn't do anything super, super crazy, which, again, that's what I would like to have seen. If you guys enjoyed the video, though, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit subscribe, turn the bell if you guys would like to see more. And if you do want to check out more mechanics and stuff, I'm going to have a bunch of videos pinned as, well, I've basically consumed all the content, so you guys can watch and see every single mechanic to see if it's something for you. Anyways, catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.